This is a story of gain, a story of loss, a story of going up against the government, doing the best you can, and then losing. The story of Preston Tucker. These are Tucker 48s, built for 1 year. About 49 of these were made. I've seen a number of these over the years, but I've never seen two in one spot for more than a few minutes at a time. Red, green. These are rear-engined. If I remember correctly, I believe these run a flat 6 in the back. And they have a number of safety features that you wouldn't see again on any American car for over 2 decades. Made in the late 40s by Preston Tucker, who had a couple of government contracts to build planes and plane parts for the federal government during the war. He was a great engineer, excellent researcher. But unfortunately, General Motors, and Ford especially, were not too happy with what he was up to. And they helped the federal government go after him for a number of different things that really weren't legitimate. Got shut down. But before he left the business, he did leave us behind with some unbelievable machines. Let's have a look. Beautiful velour seats with a collapsible steering column, which would not be seen again for a long time. Completely flat dashboard that's actually padded. You go into a contemporary Chrysler or Buick or Mercury of the late 1940s, you won't see this. You'll see a turned metal or fiberglass or plastic dashboard without this soft touch. So if you crash one of these, you have a modicum of safety built into the vehicle. These vehicles have no ashtrays in them. Preston Tucker didn't like smoking. He thought it was distracting. He wanted to make sure the driver was completely focused on the road. Even the radio is hidden behind the driver. In fact, if you look inside, you'll see the radio. The radio is actually hidden on the side of the bulkhead for the instrument panel. An interesting touch nonetheless. A lot of people in my grade when I was in high school watched a movie about this guy called Tucker, A Man in His Dream, where it almost accurately portrays the debut of the first one of these cars, which didn't have an engine and had to be pushed up the ramp at the show.
That's mine. What? Which side are going? Oh, okay.
These cars didn't have an easy berth. They were quite expensive. And like I said earlier, very few of these actually made it out of the factory, but most people who know cars today know a lot about them. Their legacy lives on at shows like this here at the Greenwich Concours of Sport. I've seen these at Hershey, Pebble Beach, you name it. In fact, the most common color on these cars that people knew about, which was the blue paint finish, which we don't see here today, was actually patterned after Tucker's wife's favorite dress. The exact color got replicated for that color alone. Although as we can see, I've seen these not just in red, green, and blue, I've seen them in black. There's a couple of them that are almost like a crocus yellow or tan color. I've seen a couple of them in silver, gray, but you never know when you're gonna see one. It's a bit like roulette. You don't know if it's gonna come up, but when it does, you're out there hooting and hollering. These cars had headlights that would swivel as you turned around a corner for the purpose, again, as we all know, of safety, that you could see around corners. That was a piece of technology that you really wouldn't see again for a while. Citroën, as most of us know, came up with that on the Citroën DS and ID 19 and 21 into the 1950s, though very few of those cars were sold in the United States compared to most other vehicles of the period, though there's more of them out there than these. And I really didn't see this technology come back after that point until I was an adult. Nowadays, most modern cars have a technology similar to this, although again, it's really seen more in expensive vehicles like these. And to this day, it's still a piece of technology that people don't necessarily think about. They also have 3 headlights opposed to just 2. Very interesting feature nonetheless. You can almost say these have early vestigial tail fins. Probably 1948 was 1 year after Cadillac invented the fin on the Series 62. And here's Tucker following suit with their product. 3 exhaust pipes on each side, a fairly unique feature that you really don't see much of anymore. The doors are actually of interest to me as well. Suicide doors, it's one of the last cars made with suicide doors in the 1940s. You still saw this into the 50s, to some extent, but not very much. And then Lincoln was really the last one to put this out with the Continental of the 1960s. Hopefully at the Concours d'Elegance we'll see one tomorrow. Hopefully we will, I don't know, I don't have the list. But what's very interesting about the doors on this car is that they're cut into the roof. This is a feature that was designed for better aerodynamics and better fuel economy. And it's a feature that really wouldn't be seen again too much until the early 90s. It took 50 years before this came back. And you can see this feature again on, let's say, a great example would be an early 1990s Lincoln Town Car, or a North Star spec Cadillac DeVille from the early 1990s from the Clinton administration. Even the Fleetwoods have them, where the doors are aircraft style and cut into the roof. Preston Tucker was an aerospace engineer by trade originally, I believe, and he wanted to fit a lot of that equipment, a lot of that quality and craftsmanship into these vehicles. So anybody who wants to confuse him with Howard Hughes, I'd recommend you don't. Preston Tucker was, for all intents and purposes, a pretty normal guy. Howard Hughes, we're not going to get into him today because we want to be family friendly. I don't want to talk about him. You can cut.